रीडिंग जब तुम पढ़ू अच्छ ए सीरीज ऑफ आर्टिकल्स अबाउट टीचिंग ऑफ रीडिंग पढ़िया पई यू वुड एक्सेप्ट टू बी रीडिंग एन आर्टिकल बाय फ्रैंक रसमैन कहते ऑफ लिस्ट जो ए स्टूडेंट फेल हम टेस्ट फॉर व्हिच डिड नॉट स्टडी पढ़ी नथियो जोटा पढ़ नथिला बाय ascribing his failure to the fact the teacher does not like him ताको पसंद करिवे नहीं does not like पसंद करती नहीं कारण रेस्टोरेशन he is utilizing of least concern of the elementary teacher is planning for a learning experience in the area of career choice. Least concern of the elementary teacher is planning. Every lesson should end with प्रत्येक पाठ होची an opportunity for the class to become aware of what it has just learned and how it has accomplished. But opportunity for the class to become aware हो what it has just learned जहाँ समय शिखिछ and how it has accomplished this learning. The workbook is a valuable educational tool होची to individualize instruction. Workbook टा होची valuable educational tool individualize करो instruction को. Of the following learning theories, the one that embodies the idea that learning takes place through insight ता कहती जेस्टाल्ट कहती और द फॉलोइंग लर्निंग थ्योरीज रे द पेयर ऑफ टर्म्स इनकरेक्टली एसोसिएटेड विथ वैलिडिटी मेजर ऑफ कंसिस्टेंसी इन टेस्टिंग रे पेयर ऑफ टर्म्स इनकरेक्टली एसोसिएटेड विथ टर्मटा एसोसिएटेड थिबो वैलिडिटी मेजर filmy and filmy strips are most effectively used after the class has been properly oriented. Class ta oriented hitho. Of the following the most meaningful activity in an elementary current event re program hochi on the following the most meaningful activity in elementary current event re program hochi a discussion of those topical happening that have relevance to the class. A discussion of these topical happenings that have relevance to the class. Elementary current event roji program hoji discussion of those topical happenings that have relevance to class. The following learning theories, one of the embodies that idea that learning takes place through gestalt. When people makes frequent errors in oral usage, teacher is best advise you supply to proper usage and ask the people to repeat it. When people make करिवे frequent errors करिवे oral कहिबारे apply the proper usage को apply करिवे and ask the people to repeat करिया पे पुनर्वात of the following the most meaningful the following poorest way of assigning homework दवा पे poorest way end हबो an opportunity for class to become aware हबो opportunity for class to become aware of satarka of what it has just learned जहाँ तुम शिखिथिल and how it has accomplished the learning. Every lesson should end with प्रत्येक पाठ होची an opportunity for the class to become aware of what it has just learned जहाँ तुम शिखिथिल and how it has accomplished. Workbook is valuable educational tool होची to individualize instruction. Workbook होची valuable educational tool माने टूल अस्त्र टू इंडिविजुअलाइज करो इंस्ट्रक्शन को. फॉलोइंग लर्निंग थ्योरी इज वन ऑफ द एम्बॉडी द आइडिया द लर्निंग टेक प्लेस थ्रू इनसाइट जेस्टाल्ट कहते व्हेन पीपल मेक फ्रिक्वेंट एरर्स करिवे ओरल यूसेज रे सप्लाई प्रॉपर यूसेज एंड आस्क पीपल टू रिपीट करिवे. ऑफ द फॉलोइंग पोरेस्ट वे ऑफ असाइनिंग ऑफ द फॉलोइंग द ऑथर ऑफ ए वाइडली यूज इंटेलिजेंट टेस्ट होची ऑथर ऑफ द वाइडली यूज इंटेलिजेंट टेस्ट होची डेविड Wessler. First grade teacher should be most concerned with the child who habitual. First grade teacher should be most concerned of child who habitually sucks is your thumb. Her thumb को sucks करे. Most concerned. The classroom as a democratic learning laboratory is one in which जो थे The teacher and children within board school policy plan their own learning activities. A classroom is a democratic learning laboratory. Teacher and children within board school policy plan their own learning activities. Plan karanti. In the heterogeneously grouped class, it is proper for the teacher to assign karibo to his high achieving students all of the following except heterogeneous grouped class re it is proper for the teacher to assign karibo to the high achieving student को all of the following committee work for slow achievers कम achievers ପାଇଁ tutoring student in the class रे ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ଶିକ୍ଷା ଦେବ special reports in areas of their interest area tutoring students in the class ରେ tutoring କରିବ overlearning होची tends to strengthen an individuals overlearning होची power of retention tends to strengthen an individual powers क्षमता retention overlearning the project method of teaching is best associated with philosophy of project method होची John Dewey when a child has an incident in the school playground the teacher should first होची give first aid दबो child has an incident in the school playground teacher should first होची give first aid दबो in a heterogeneously grouped class it is a proper for the teacher to assign karibo to the high achieving student heterogeneous group class रे heterogeneous teacher to assign karibo to the high achieving student को all of the following कौन करियो committee work दबो slow achievers सहित tutoring student in the class पढ़ेइबो शिक्षक शिक्षादान करियो special report in areas of their interest दबो one who has learned to stand शिक्षा दबो ठिया पई one who has learned जने शिखिबो learn to stand while the star spangled banner is played and then when a great Britain stands when God save the queen is played is exhibiting God save the queen को save करंतु transfer of training star spangled banner is played and then when a great Britain stands teacher will be best able to plan for dealing with poor behavior in the classroom रे if she regards such behavior the teacher will be best able to plan करंती for dealing with poor behavior in the classroom रे a problem that she must solve करंती poor behavior in the classroom रे a tachistoscope is used in reading program रे increase rate of speed बढ़ाती speed rate को school is life not a preparation for life statement summary is one of the important John Dewey of the following the least characteristic activity of a reading readiness program होची use pre-primer workbook to practice phonetic skill least characteristic activity होची reading readiness program होची the use of a pre-primer workbook to practice phonetic skill frequency distribution is best defined as the number of people who received each score on a test frequency distribution होची best defined होची number of people who receive करंती each score on test of the following is the situation is the best examples intrinsic motivation होची when people edit each other writing before they are submitted to the school magazine edit each other writing before they are submitted to school magazine best example of intrinsic motivation school magazine लिखे दियंते intrinsic 80mm loops are characterized by all the following are best used for full classroom instruction 8mm loops the most important reason for the parent participation in school trip रे parent will the most important reason for the parent participation करंती share in a learning activity with his or her child share in a learning activity most important reason for parent participation school trips रे share in a learning activity with his or her child ତା ପିଲାଙ୍କ ପ୍ରତି with his or her child who fidgets and squirms during class discussion should be asked to erase the board को erase करा ପାଇଁ child who fidgets mainstreaming in a term associated with education for the handicapped mainstreaming is term associated with education for the handicapped means the mainstreaming term of great importance of determining the amount of transference that occurs in learning is the presence of identical elements presence में उपस्थित समान elements हो to be maladjusted adolescent is most likely to maladjusted fears the dark भय करंती adolescent of the following procedures designed to ensure safety on a first grade class trip one of the least values provide each child with a name tag safety on a first grade class trip a school wishing to improve the quality of its parent teacher conference school wishing to improve the quality of its parent teacher conference best advice होची provide teachers with training in interviewing techniques in a unit on career education for elementary children मौलिक children the greatest emphasis should be placed on education for elementary children पे knowledge of and attitude towards various field of work knowledge of and attitude towards various field of work in an unit on career education for elementary children greatest emphasis होची प्राधान्य दिया should be placed on of the following the educator who is not an advocate of radical educational reform of the following the educator who is not an advocate of radical educational reform होची बेस्टर दा कहते the people whose individual needs are more likely to be neglected people whose individual needs दरकार जोड़ा people जार individual needs दरकार neglected than any of the others the one who is the withdrawn individual दरकार करती more likely to be neglected than any of others थारू physically handicapped people may be expected to exhibit all the following problems the physically handicapped having children practice करती handwriting on the chalkboard a poor practice because it does not replicate condition under which normal handwriting occurs normal handwriting होबनी having children practice करती handwriting chalkboard रे poor practice because it does not replicate करेनी normal handwriting भलिया how and when young children crawl good unnati work depends mainly upon maturation पर depend करे the first grade child most often one who first grade child होची spend part of his life in a world of fantasy कटाए तार child spend part of his life in a world of fantasy ऐसे करते हैं when upper grade elementary children to research work the greatest problem the teacher has to contend with discouraging children from copying verbatim from books and encyclopedia when upgrade elementary children to research work greatest problem the teacher has to contend discourage children from copying from books bahiru and encyclopedia upper grade elementary children research work करिया पे greatest problem होची of the following the statement that would be most widely accepted is depends upon the purpose of each class प्रत्येक क्लास ऊपर पर्पस निर्भर करती डिपेंड्स अपॉन द पर्पज द मोस्ट इफेक्टिव वे टू हेल्प ए मिडिल ग्रेड चिल्ड्रेन express themselves correctly plan meaningfully experiences that will elicit oral and written expression most effective way to help a middle grade children को effective express themselves correctly plan meaningfully experience that will elicit oral and written expression मौखिक और written expression meaningful experience when interviewing a people the interviewer should be guided by all of the following except the interview should be relatively unstructured and therefore need not be planned. When interviewing a people, the interviewer should be guided by all the following. Should be relatively unstructured. The Athenian school, compared to others ancient world, placed heavy emphasis on training for enjoyment of leisure. Leisure niyanti. Poor discipline is more likely to occur in poor discipline does not provide the for individual differences. Provide करे नहीं individual differences. व्यक्तिगत फरक. A child gives an incorrect answer. Provoking general laughter. Provoke गाली दबा पे general laughter from the class. Provoke